This has got to be one of the most serious scandals I've ever seen, but you'll be hard-pressed to find any mainstream media news outlet talking about it. This topic is so sensitive, I'd be surprised if even this video pulled one. And once you hear and see what I'm about to reveal to you, you will perfectly understand why. Just a few days ago, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg wrote an open letter to Congress admitting to censoring Facebook at the request of the Biden-Harris administration and, most importantly, the FBI. Now, I'm sure many of you probably saw this reported in the news, but what you might not know is how Mark's actions back in 2020 completely changed the course of world history.
Quit exaggerating.
Okay, well, at least the Western world and Taiwan. And I've got the receipts and data to prove it, son. So today, I'm going to show you exactly how social and mainstream media assisted in the big steal of American government. So get that bucket of popcorn ready and 2 glasses of bourbon to wash it all down. Because America 已经被抓塞了 in the worst way possible. 真的是代志大条。Within 2 days of RFK suspending his presidential campaign and endorsing Donald Trump, there were a few unexpected people who have come forward to endorse Trump as well and give his campaign a much-needed boost. One of these people, intentionally or unintentionally, is Mark Zuckerberg.
In 2021, senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain 19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our team when we didn't agree. Ultimately, it was our decision whether or not to take content down, and we own our decisions, including 19 related changes we made to our enforcement in the wake of this pressure. I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. I also think we made some choices that, with the benefit of hindsight and new information, we wouldn't make today. Like I said to our teams at the time, I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to pressure from any administration in either direction, and we're ready to push back if something like this happens again. In a separate situation, the FBI warned us about a Putin-Russian disinformation operation about the Biden family and Burisma in the lead up to the 2020 election. That fall, when we saw a New York Post story reporting on corruption allegations involving then Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's family, we sent that story to fact checkers for review and temporarily demoted while waiting for a reply. Since it's been made clear that the reporting was not Russian disinformation, and in retrospect, we shouldn't have demoted the story. We've changed our policies and processes to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Now, for those of you who don't really follow American politics, this might not seem like a big deal, but to American swing voters, this is serious as fuck. So let me give you just a little bit of background, and in order to do that, I must use very coded language, because although everything I'm about to share and show you is 100% proven to be true, there are still online media platforms, this one included, who will censor anyone who dares to talk about it. So use your imagination, will ya?
You better be careful.
So we're gonna call this the 白登电脑故事. Now, when it came to Taiwanese media, most of them reported that an electronic device belonging to the offspring of a very absent-minded commander-in-chief, and on it were mostly nude photos and videos of the offspring engaging in usage of baking soda.
I'm in love with the coco.
But there is one tiny little detail that the media left out. The fact that along with those nude photos and the baking soda usage, there was also very damning evidence of the absent-minded commander-in-chief's business dealings with the largest privately gas-owned company in a country led by a comedian turned president.
Slava Ukraine.
I wonder what that country has been up to lately. I heard they received a lot of donations from our country. Fun fact, at the time of the business dealings, the absent-minded commander-in-chief's offspring was on the board of the directors of that very large gas company. And the data on that electronic device has already been confirmed to have emails and documents detailing the business dealings of the absent-minded commander-in-chief's son with that very large natural gas company and also other foreign entities. But the also trustworthy mainstream media outlets only talked about nude photos and baking soda.
Baking soda. I got baking soda.
So now you understand that if any of that information from the electronic device were leaked to the public, then the absent-minded commander-in-chief along with his friends would face some very serious consequences. So now we are going to take a look at why Mark Zuckerberg's statements shined a very big spotlight on one of the biggest scandals in modern American history, Grand Theft America. Okay, so the data I'm about to show you can all be found on the US Congress website, which goes to show that the best way to hide any secret is in plain sight. Although I'm pretty sure they're probably gonna delete this shit as soon as they find out that everyone's looking at it.
Do it. Do it.
So, years before Mark Zuckerberg wrote that letter to Congress, a poll was conducted, and what it revealed is something that takes all them conspiracy theories you've heard and paints them as truth. So when Americans were presented with the question of, did the FBI deliberately mislead the public when they claimed the was disinformation, 74% of Americans said yes. Fun fact, the FBI was actually in possession of that electronic device 10 months before the New York Post posted a story about it. But in response, they either refused to comment or just flat out lied about it, calling it fake news. Not only that, but the FBI conditioned social media companies, Facebook and Twitter included, into believing that it was all Russian disinformation, all while having that electronic device in their possession the entire time.
That nigga's tripping.
So out of all the Democrats, Republicans, and independent voters, more than half of each group believed that the FBI was engaging in some serious fuckery. But this is just the tip of the shit pile. Because when presented with a question of how likely would a truthful interpretation of the electronic device have changed the election's outcome, 79% said it would have. So 79% of American voters said that if they knew the truth, the 2020 election would have ended very differently. And if you compare these two sets of data, there is a pretty weird contradiction going on. You see, 74% of Americans thought the FBI was lying, but nearly 80% refused to trust their instincts, thus believing that if they were told the truth from the beginning, it would have affected the election's outcome. So if you're not quite following me, hang in there, because this next question is about to make it all crystal clear. When asked if knowing the electronic device's contents were real and not disinformation, would they have changed their vote, 47% said likely.
Fuck.
And here is where it gets real interesting. Let's ignore the independent voters for a second, because they, like me, didn't like either of the candidates. But the Democrats, 71% would have changed their vote. And in case you didn't know, the 2020 election was a very close race. Out of 6 of the swing states that the absent-minded commander-in-chief won, half of them were won by a less than 1% margin. We're talking as low as %, yo. But if those swing state voters knew the truth, then 71% of them would have changed their minds. Now, out of those 6 swing states, 4 of them, Wisconsin, Georgia, Arizona, and Pennsylvania, have a combined total of 57 electoral votes. So if the public had known different, that election would have turned out very differently. But what happened is the FBI killed the story about the electronic device belonging to the commander-in-chief's offspring by manipulating social media and lying to the public. Operation Grand Theft America, mission complete.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Now, I know your first instinct might be to call BS and cry conspiracy theory, but keep in mind, everything I showed you is cold, hard data, and also comes from the mouth of a big tech CEO. All I did was connect the dots. But now you're beginning to understand why this video probably ain't gonna pass 50,000 views. God damn it, if this video actually toggled, what? I'm gonna look like an asshole. So if you wanna see how Chicha Sona Susu look like an asshole, then share this video with everybody you know, especially you 20% of our viewers who come from America, yo.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
So, in case you haven't noticed, Taiwanese politicians have been suffering from their own Daichi Duadiao controversies as of late. And as a result, there has been a very famous quote making its way around the internet, courtesy of Alexander Solzhenitsyn.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
Anyway, he had something to say about the totalitarian regime.
We know they are lying. They know they are lying. They know we know they are lying. We know they are lying, and still they continue to lie.
The mainstream media was once the guardian of the First Amendment and democratic principles, and it's joined this systemic attack on democracy. What alarms me is the resort to censorship and media control and the weaponization of the federal agencies. When a U.S. president colludes with or outright coerces media companies to censor political speech, it's an attack on our most sacred right of free expression, and that's the very right upon which all of our other constitutional rights rest. President Biden mocked Vladimir Putin's 88% landslide in the Russian elections, observing that Putin and his party controlled the Russian press, and that Putin prevented serious opponents from appearing on the ballot. But here in America, the DNC also prevented opponents from appearing on the ballot. And our television networks exposed themselves as Democratic Party organs over the course of more than a year in a campaign where my poll numbers reached at times in the high 20s. The DNC-aligned mainstream media networks maintain a near-perfect embargo on interviews with me. Representatives of those networks are in this room right now, and I'll just take a moment to ask you to consider the many ways that your institutions have abdicated this really sacred responsibility, the duty of a free press to safeguard democracy and to challenge always the party in power. Instead of maintaining that posture of fierce skepticism toward authority, democracy, your institutions have made themselves government mouthpieces and stenographers for the organs of power. You didn't alone cause the devolution of American democracy, but you could have prevented it.
Robert Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr., the nephew of John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr. This man has been a Democrat since he was 6 years old. But if what he says still doesn't convince you, then why don't you hear the words of a former war veteran turned Democratic Congresswoman, Tulsi Gabbard?
We cannot be prosperous unless we are at peace. And we can't live free as long as we have a government that is retaliating against its political opponents and undermining our civil liberties, weaponizing our very institutions against those they deem as a threat. Kamala Harris has done this over the last 3.5 years. She won't hesitate to continue that if she is elected as president. President Trump has been their first and foremost target in this because they don't want us as voters to even have the option to vote for him. I've been their most recent target, added to a secret domestic terror watch list after exposing the truth about what kind of dangers we would face if Kamala Harris is elected as president. We as Americans must stand together to reject this anti-freedom culture of political retaliation and abuse of power. We can't allow our country to be destroyed by politicians who will put their own power ahead of the interests of the American people, our freedom, and our future.
So with everything you've learned, one might conclude that America is on the brink of a civil war. Zuckerberg pretty much confirmed that not only does American censorship exist, but also that big tech companies are manipulating and lying to the public. Now, when it comes to Trump supporters, there are right wing and there's the extreme right wing. And if any of those extremists manage to put 2 and 2 together, should Trump lose this year's election, I think things will probably explode. Now, in spite of Zuckerberg's statements, the reality of this might leave some people actually unfazed, especially those who have sworn allegiance to the Democratic Party no matter the cost. But those few swing voters who hold America's fate in the balance might just take this new information and cast their vote for the orange man. Because hey, if they stole it from him once, why not give it back to him? Just in good faith.
What do you have to lose by trying something new like Trump?
But what do you guys think? Is this all an overblown conspiracy theory? Is it all fake news? Let me know what you think down below. And remember, because this topic is very sensitive, not only keep it civil, but choose your words carefully. Because probably they might ban your ass. But in case they don't, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you on the flip side. Peace!